Carla here, also known online as the Beer Babe, at Beer Babe.
My name is Mike. I am the Robin to Seacoast Beverage Labs Batman. Can be found on Twitter at Avo Meredith.
Hey, I'm Norman. I'm known online as the Beer Nut or Real Beer Nut on Twitter.
Hello, this is Sean Jansen from TwoBeerGuys.com.
Brian from Seacoast Beverage Lab, and this is the Seacoast Beverage Lab podcast. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Brian from SeacoastBeverageLab.com, and this is the Seacoast Beverage Lab podcast, episode number 51. I'm not even going to apologize for last week because it's YouTube's fault, but we'll get to that in a second. But again, I'm Brian from Seacoast Beverage Lab. Thanks for watching and listening, and I'm drinking the Copper Legend by Jack's Abbey. And 'tis the season, am I right, Norm?
Damn straight.
All right.
What
Carl,
style beer is Copper Legend, Brian?
What's that?
What style beer?
We're looking at a Marsden-style beer.
Oh, perfect.
Which is usually brewed in March to be ready for Oktoberfest, and I learned that in a new book that we're about to talk about. Great segue. Damn, too soon for a segue. Carla, what's going on?
Hi, Carla Companion here. I'm a beer blogger for thebeerbabe.com and the Portland Press Herald. I'm actually drinking a Pretty Things Magnifico, which is their kind of hoppy beer. Awesome beer. Go grab it. It's good.
It's awesome that's in Maine too. Big shout out.
Yeah, we're starting to get Pretty Things up here, and Dan and Martha were actually up here for a tasting earlier this week at Beer Cellar. So big turnout there. There 70 people-ish.
Awesome.
Wow.
Speaking of Mike.
Yes.
What's up?
Mike Meredith at Mo Meredith on Twitter. Tonight I'm drinking a Cisco Brewing Pumple Drumpkin. I'm going to start climbing that pumpkin mountain. It's that time of year. So.
Was that in a can?
Yeah, man. Look at that.
Look at that can coming in nice. Nice can.
Only cost me an arm and a leg for $12. Thank you, Cisco Brewing. For $17. Here we go.
It's coming by way of ship. By ship to shore, you know, so.
They actually parachuted it into Vin and Liquors. It just came right through the ceiling.
Big ass pumpkins.
$17 for 12 packs, a bargain in New York City.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true.
Something.
Yeah.
I'd be like, my God, that's all I'm paying is $17 for a 12 pack.
I walked in and I was like, I will not pay $17, and then I paid $17.
Mike, is that a 12 ounce or
Yeah, it's a 12er.
yeah?
Mike just has huge hands.
No,
That's
yeah,
still a little
the
bit
size
cheaper
of
than
it
all
is-
day IPA.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
But
true.
I really enjoy this, so cheers, Cisco.
Cheers. And Norm, what's up, buddy?
Hey, not much. Norman Miller, the Beer Nut from Metro West Daily News and WickedLocal.com, and Real Beer Nut on Twitter. And tonight I'm drinking the best pumpkin ale, Cambridge Brewing Company's The Great Pumpkin.
Ooh.
Fantastic beer. How's that going down? Good?
It's going down good. It's the first pumpkin beer of the season. I bought it at a liquor store.
What a great one to start with.
And folks,
This is my
this may be
first
hard.
as well.
This may be hard to believe, those listening and watching, but there's real pumpkin in that beer.
Yes.
Just tossing some knowledge out your way, but no big deal. Sean, what's up?
Yes, this is Sean Jansen from TwoBeerGuys.com. I'm currently drinking a Clown Shoes Swagger.
Whoa.
It is a hoppy red lager.
Now we're talking.
How do you spell your last name, Sean?
God damn it, we'll get to that soon. But hey, we have a special guest in the house. May you're welcome. Wait for it. Slowly panning up to the book. And the intro. We have Joshua M. Bernstein, writer of the Complete Beer Course, in stores now. How's it going, Josh?
Good, good. I am drinking beer again, which is pretty much par for the course these days, it seems.
What are we drinking?
I ran to the bodega about 20 minutes ago, and so luckily the bodegas are getting much better, so I picked up some Founders All Day IPA, $2 a bottle, and then Harpoon UFO, because I'm trying not to get completely drunk tonight, which we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, see what happens.
Yeah.
So we got for those listening or for those watching, you can hop in the chat. We got Sean and myself. We can take your questions. Looks like we got Professor Bono and Bruce in the chat. So ask questions away, and you can tweet at us with SBL Podcast. Tell a friend. Quick recap, last week's episode still in the works because we had a YouTube issue and it completely threw us off, and we never expected an issue after 50 episodes, but we got one, but it would never happen again. I promise you, ye faithful listeners and viewers. But does anyone have any quick recaps of last week before we start talking about Josh's book here? Anything crazy? Oh, Carla got a finger.
Yeah.
Respect.
Two quick little things. I got a chance to get the last a pint from the last keg of Bull Jagger's Baltic Porter on at Brian Baru last week, or not Brian Baru, I apologize, Bull Feeney's last week. Tom came out, a bunch of the other brewers in the area came out, and it was a really nice time. It wasn't a sad thing. It was like celebrating how good that beer was, and that we're hoping, all the best to Tom in the future. Whatever he decides to do. Right now he's not in brewing, but he's kind of got his sights on it. So I just wanted to kind of raise a little glass to a fallen brewery, Bull Jagger right there.
Yep.
And then I also went to Sebago Brewing Company's Oktoberfest celebration this past weekend, and it was awesome. Lots of good beer. They had their Oktoberfest, and then the local harvest, which is the one that I helped pick the hops for. Live band, huge turnout, awesome event. So props to them too.
Sweet. I can't say I did anything crazy. I don't remember. So maybe I did, but no, that's not the case at all. No, but I did go over to the Gaslight in Portsmouth where they had their first. It's called the first annual, but I'm not a big fan of that phrase. Just like ATM machine, it'll be annual once the second year starts. But anyway, they had the first annual Oktoberfest, and well done, because the back deck of the Gaslight is perfect for something like this. It's a nice little beer garden. Had the Oompa bands, the big pretzels, the schnitzels and all that. Not schnitzels. Yeah, Wiener schnitzels and all that. But they also had dollar beers for the first 24, and we were numbers 1 and 2, of course. Kid yourself.
Nice.
So it was fun. But Sean, Norm, Mike, anything real quick?
Went to the Belchertown Fair. But there's no beer at the Belchertown Fair, which we gotta change. It's kind of a shame.
Was there alcohol at all though, or was it just?
No, I do not. Yeah, there was root beer. There were slushies. No joke, there were slushies like the size of Norm.
Yards.
It was amazing. They were huge, and they were so tall. Like this one kid. I'm saying that you're tall, bro.
Tall. They're tall. No, but in Belchertown Fair, there's always a smell of alcohol, but you just don't know where to find it.
Oh yeah, you just have to look to the team to your left.
We were young then.
To be young, but no, it was a good time. So
Norm's got the finger. Go ahead.
Yeah, after Mike was done, I went to the last Festival of Ales at the Higgins Armory in Worcester this weekend. Nice little beer festival. Cool little place. It's kind of sad it's going away. I mean, I think I went on field trips there 5 or 6 years in a row when I was like a kid.
Love the Higgins Armory.
Yeah, so they're closing at the end of this year, but they had the last beer festival, and I got to give a nice little half-hour talk about the greatness of New England beers to a group of about 30, 40 people, maybe about 30 people who showed up to listen to the talk during the middle of the festival, so it was fun.
Did you wear a suit of armor when you did it?
No, but someone else did, who wasn't part of the volunteer or an employee. Yeah.
He's like, screw it, I'm taking it.
Oh, God. Picturing Norman in a suit of armor. Sean, anything crazy?
Oh, there was a bunch of stuff I did and a bunch of stuff that I wasn't able to make it to. For example,
North Shore Beer Week.
Last week was North Shore Beer Week. There was some big features of the previous weekend that we talked about in the last show. But some of the things I missed out was a special beer release by Newburyport Brewing. There was an Allagash tap takeover at the Amesbury Ale House. It was also the Highlands Games weekend up north of New Hampshire. We also did with work, we did a Founders Tap Takeover with 12 lines, including oatmeal stout on nitro.
Whoa,
but last weekend, at least Thursday, Friday, I was in Rehoboth Beach in Milton, Delaware, visiting Dogfish Head for the first time. And then I flew home on Saturday to work the Amesbury Brew Fest, and then did a charity event at night in Lowell, pouring some different beers.
Jesus. God. So I guess the show's over. I'm sorry, Josh, but friggin'
You haven't even asked me what I've done the last week.
Yeah. We're getting to you.
That's the only question I'm going to ask you at all, so just start talking now.
Yeah, right. So Sean, just real quick, how was the Amesbury Brew Fest?
Amesbury Brew Fest, I think there was about at least 4,000 to 5,000 people over about 40 different breweries there. Nice. There's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, people were even daring going down the gyro ball and the inner tubes down the hill at the same time during the festival.
No.
So I stayed clear away from that, but there was a lot of good beer.
Yeah, I can see you rolling right on the 495 with that thing. Okay, so again, we have our very first, well, Norm, sorry, but don't take offense, our very first author as a guest on this show, Josh Bernstein, and again, he's the writer of the Complete Beer Course. But I was wondering if you wanted to give us a brief synopsis of your first book, Brewed Awakenings, before we and how you got started in the whole beer writing.
Okay, I guess I can backtrack a little bit. Brewed Awakening was really the synthesis of almost a decade of work. I started off in New York City as a bar writer, and by that I mean when I was, 22 years old, I started working for, where was I at? New York, Time Out in New York back then, and so I basically was I'd go around, spend my nights getting incredibly drunk, and then wake up in the morning and write about all the adventures. And then that led to a gig at New York Press where I did the same thing, where I would go out all night long and write about my adventures. And the good thing and the bad thing about New York City is that it's a 4 a.m. town, and so I was out till 4 in the morning and waking up, and after a while I kind of got tired of doing all that. And so what I ended up doing was I started, probably around 2003, 2004, I started writing more specifically about what I loved about the bars was the beer. And so I got in, and then in New York City I was working for Time Out New York, the press still focusing more on the craft beer movement, and this was around the time where the third wave was really kind of kicking off, and it was just filled with all these really incredibly passionate characters, and as a journalist, you have the ability to really tell the stories. And so for me, I really got into it, A, because of the drinking, which is always fun, but B, because, you know, as a writer, you're always looking for a great subject. And brewers, because they're putting their careers on the line, their lives on the line, and, you know, bank balances on the line, they're just filled with passion stories, everything that a writer loves. And so combine my two things, drinking and writing about the people making the beer. And then one by one, I kind of got better gigs. I started working for Imbibe magazine in 2006 as their feature writer for beer, and that was their second issue, and I'm still working for them today. And I got a gig working for Gourmet magazine when they went online, and I became their online beer writer. And there was like one thing after the other, and then I got incredibly lucky. My publisher at Sterling was basically riding the subway one day and picked up, I think, a copy of the New York Press or something, and then saw one of my beer stories, and he was like, they were trying to get more. Sterling had a lot of wine books and they had a lot of spirit books, but they didn't have any beer books, and so they were looking for writers. And what ended up happening was they pitched me a book about stouts, and so I was like, great, because I was kind of getting tired of just, you know, the journalism over the last 13 years has gone from being something where you can tell really great stories to writing really great lists over and over and over again. You know, the 10 best this, 5 best that, something can be broken down and kind of dumbed down. And so I was really looking to do a bigger project and write bigger stories. And so they asked me to do a book on stouts, and I was like, great, I'll do it. I didn't even bat an eye. I would have just, but the more they thought about it, the more they thought it was kind of a bad idea. It would have just been one of those books you give your dad for Christmas, and it was like if he's like a cigar smoker, it's like a book on cigars, like something shiny to fit into a stocking. And I would have done it, but luckily they thought it was a bad idea in the end. And so I pitched them Brewed Awakening to really go around the country and tell the story about the brewers, bar owners, beer drinkers who are changing the way that America thinks about craft beer, and in turn changing the way that the world thinks about American craft beer. So that was about an 18-month project, and that came out in November 2011. So that was my first book. So that was kind of crazy. That was incredibly fun to write and also incredibly challenging because I'd been, you know, I know how to write a 2,000-word story, but I had no idea how to write a book. And so when I got done with the book, my editor's great, the content's awesome, but it's not really a book. And so we had to spend another crazy 2 months putting it all together and re-recording, rewriting, doing everything. And it was really, you know, the thing about a book, when you get done with doing a book, you don't really want to do another book at all. You just want to take a break. But book writing, it wasn't really what I thought about. You know, when you get done with it, it's just you kind of want to take a nap, but you get out there in the world, you see how excited people are about reading the book, and it makes you reinvigorated again to go around and talk to people and just see it behind the bars, see it in libraries, see it in people's hands. I mean, it really makes you feel great as a writer, and it kind of validates everything that you've just done. And so you kind of forget about all those hardships, and you know, everything just becomes smooth sailing. And then everyone thinks you have the best job in the world.
It's true, yeah. I mean, I can imagine you must get that question quite a bit.
Yeah, it's
Can I have your job?
Yeah, they're like, you got the best job in the world, but people don't realize that writing is hard work. That writing is not writing, and you're drinking, but you're not just going out to bars all night long and getting drunk. That's a little bit of you know, you have to think about things critically. I mean, endless bar crawls don't equal good journalism or good stories. You know, they make good stories to tell your friends, but as a writer, it's not going to be great. So, yeah, but you try to smile and be like, ha ha ha, yep, we got the best job in the world, and I'll buy my book and go away.
Your fingers are like carpal tunnel. I can't write anymore.
I know, you get the talons and the claws. That truly is. When I was doing, the last for this book, Complete Beer Course, because I had to spend, it was a lot of work and a lot of back-end writing, and so by the end, it was like 16-hour days of sitting at your computer just writing. And then, basically the only thing that kept me sane was a beer, or 2 beers, or 3 beers. It was like,
So great, but so I don't know. I don't want to jump around, but if I am, you can stop me. But the design of both books is none of which I've ever seen before in a book. Did you have a say in that design to make it so it's almost interactive? Where I mean, Carla's got the book right there, but
yeah, I think what I ended up having with that, I had a really good designer, Rachel Maloney, she was with Sterling Publishing, and so she was one of the house designers. But Rachel is a beer enthusiast as well, and Rachel loves beer, and so for her it was a passion project. In the same token, so she put all of her heart into the book too. But for me, the collaborative aspect was that I didn't have it when I was writing the book. I was writing the book with the idea of how the text is going to hang on the pages, like doing so you'd have maybe sidebars, you would have the beers to try. And so the designers understood that these are the elements she could work with, and she kind of, set a template together and think about how all the text would fit on each page. But beyond that, beyond writing, as an author, you have to get all the pictures too, or at least my publisher makes you. So I had to spend a long time actually seeking out photos, gathering the photos, and actually making sure that, and then once I put them in the book, making sure that they look good, they're the right thing. So for me, it wasn't so much as like the nuts and bolts, the minutia of design, but it was more about making sure that all of the that I got the right pictures, the pictures look great, because I wanted to make the book I want to make the book look as good as it read. And the thing about it, and I'm not in any sort of like, I know people are going to pick up the book because of the pictures, and if they read the words, great. But I know that you kind of have to grab people in a different way. I like it if everyone read every single word, but I'm not naive enough to think that they're going to do that. But for a lot of people, it's a really good engagement point that the pictures really help tell the story. And I think beer is so visually engaging and engages so many different senses that it would be a disservice just to have another straight book without, the design of beer labels, the way the beer looks, I mean, all these things attract people to craft beer, and so it's more than just the drinking, and so I want to make the book look really good. So, yeah.
So what would you say is your target audience for this book? Is it for? I mean, I have it here. I've perused through it, and it said, it's called boot. It's got a subtitle of Boot Camp for Beer Geeks, but I'm just wondering, like, where on the spectrum, did you want people to pick this up and kind of do that learning? Like, who is this meant for? Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Norma about this a little bit too, and it was a really fine balance of trying to, I think within the craft beer world, what happens is with so much of the attention gets put upon all these big beers like double IPAs, imperial stouts, all these things that are just, they're the sexy pinup stars of craft beer, and so everyone really cares a lot about them. But I think what happens is there tends to be less of a focus on, a good Marzen, a Kolsch, alt beer, all these styles that really contribute to the continuum of craft beer and brewing in general. And so for the book, I wanted 2 audiences. I wanted, the people that are just getting into beer, a way for them to be able to confidently walk into any beer store, bar, brewery, and understand the styles intimately. And then secondly, I wanted people that really are passionate about beer, but I want them to dig down. And if you like an IPA, like a double IPA, it's great, but here's all these other great styles. And whereas Brewed Awakening was really all about Brewed Awakening is really the stories of the brewers. For Complete Beer Course, I want to apply that same technique of telling the stories, but almost the stories of the beer styles themselves and how they evolved to come to present day. And I think that the stories themselves appeal to a lot of people. You may know your IPAs, but you don't really know the story about October beer, how things fit together. And I think the goal for me was to make everyone a more well-rounded drinker and kind of cut through a lot of the myths and debunk a lot of those too, which there's just simple stuff that, for the average drinker, that dark beers don't equal heavy. Guinness has that, just simple things that keep on getting that head on your beer is actually something you should be looking for and not yelling at your bartender for shorting you an ounce or two. And so, these are things that you can be a great beer drinker, but they're things that sometimes that don't really get passed down or things that maybe people don't dive into. And so I just wanted to make a book that anyone could read and just feel confident about discussing the beer. That take away, there's a geekiness aspect on there, but confidence and understanding and not being afraid to try things and being able to bend elbows at the bar and really talk to anyone about it beer. In a nutshell.
Wow.
Yeah. But so the book is a bit different than Brewed Awakenings in that it's a big coffee table book. Did you envision having such a grand book as your second book?
No, and that was really the biggest issue for me too. That Brewed Awakening came out, and it was really amazing to have that out there. But that was definitely a book that you read it more like a traditional. You can jump around, but you would read it more like a traditional book. And they'd actually signed me up to do the complete beer course before Brewed Awakening came out, and me being once again naive and stupid, and it was like, another book, awesome. And then I signed up to do it without actually understanding what it actually meant to go out on the road. And, you go from being a writer to being a salesman. Norm, I don't know if you experienced this too. You can be a writer, you're in your room telling your stories, and you have to go out and sell yourself, and that's just so draining to go out there and have to put yourself on the line.
At least, as a reporter, you're usually behind the scenes, and when you write the book, you probably did the same thing. You have to promote yourself in the book more than you have to promote than you're used to doing.
Yeah, I call it standing on concrete floors and smiling. And that's what you do with a lot of breweries. I mean, you go to any bottle shop breweries, you're just like, you look down the ground, you're like, another goddamn concrete floor, and then, and so I've taken to wearing the most comfortable shoes, with got my Saucony sneakers with insoles in there, because you're standing around and smiling, and you're just like, oh my good God, I'm so tired. But you can't ever. But everyone that's walking up to you, they're excited, they want to learn about it. So you have to be relentlessly upbeat, no matter if you sell one book or 50 books. I mean, and so that's really the challenging aspect of doing the writing. So doing the selling, I got done with the book and I went on the road, and I just didn't have any energy left. I got a wife, I got a dog, and you're trying to balance it all together. And so around January of 2012, my editor was like, "Hey Josh, so where's the first sample chapter?" And I was like, "Sample chapter." And and so then I had to sit down and really focus on this while doing other promotion. But I think going out there and actually being able to be on the road and talk to people about the book let me see where there was knowledge for people, where there was kind of a lack, and just what people, or there was fear. And I talk about with a lot of people that we kind of all live in craft beer cocoons where everyone around us knows what a pumpkin beer is and session IPAs and everything else, but most people in the country don't. And there's just, and a lot of people are looking for a way to jump into it and enter that point, but they don't really know how. And I mean, even an IPA for 90% of America is a foreign concept. And so when going around talking to folks and just taking that to heart, sometimes I think a lot of people just forget that not everyone else knows everything, and that's it. There's just so much out there, and I think so being on tour for that was really informative and instructive about where there's a lack and where I could go and where I could really help people out. And but finding time to write the book was definitely a struggle. It was basically most of 2012 I spent working on the book while also doing all my other freelance assignments and stories, and trying to walk the dog and go on vacation every once in a while, and not drink a beer every once in a while too.
Yeah, right.
Which is weird. People come to me, they see me at the picture, they're like, "Oh, you have a soda in your hand. You're not drinking beer," and I'm like, I don't just walk around 24 hours a day.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just drink rum and Coke sometimes. So.
I know.
So, Sean, did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. Sometimes when I've taught things in the past or have done a lot of research on something, I sort of either figure something out that maybe I thought one way and I really learned it the other way, or kind of stumbled upon something where I'm like, wow, I really never thought about that, or I didn't have to, it never come across my mind. When you were writing either of your books, did you kind of have any moment at a point where you're like, okay, I thought this and that myth is dispelled, or something that was like, oh, okay, I get it now?
Yeah, I mean, I think the two things were IPAs and porters, and just about trying to untangle that twisted web of just what's going on, and trying to translate that into a way that makes people excited, because these are. You can have these brewing styles that are out there, but it's one thing to talk about a beer and have the excitement behind it, but trying to dig through all this history, then find a way that's engaging to people. So that was a big challenge. But I think for me, the interesting stories were the journey of porter and stout, and also the journey of IPA, and just how that's been so conflated, and just how many half-truths are just continually repeated over and over and over again, because it's a neat, tidy narrative, but sometimes things aren't quite as neat and tidy and don't clean up quite so well. So for me, it was instructive and also kind of maddening. Martin Cornell's book, I think Amber Gold and Black, was really instructive to be able to meet, because he's done such a great job. Him and Ron Pattinson's work as beer historians has just been really instrumental, just clearing stuff up and being able to say, okay, here's a clean line from the beginning to then, and we get to cut through the rest of the stuff. But then also trying to read their stuff and do your own research and trying to figure out a way to put your own spin on it too. That, I think, as an author, I think that's, and as a storyteller, that's always a big challenge, to make it unique, to make it your own, and make it accessible to people. And you sometimes kind of get lost in the weeds, and that's when a good editor is really the person that comes help you hack it out.
Pretty cool.
Nice.
So, Josh, you talked a little about this earlier, but obviously you're a beer geek, and the people on this show are beer geeks. How hard is it to balance that when you're writing a book that's, you know, an educational book that you want beer geeks to still want to buy, but that someone who might not have any level of knowledge, except they know they, like, when they go to the bar, they don't want Bud Miller and Coors, you want to attract them. How was it to balance out that, like, which information to include, what not to include?
Well, I think for me, I think in the best way possible, beer is a conversation. Beer's community, beer's conversation. So when I was writing the book, I was trying to think of the way to go about doing it, where I thought about being on a bar stool, and like if I wasn't sure about what this beer was, how would I want this person next to me to talk to me about it in like the best buddy way possible? So for me, as long as you kind of, I think as an author, you have to make yourself a very a reliable narrator, and also someone they'd want to get a beer with as well. So I think your tone of voice and the way you approach it and the way you talk about the subject, and you can show your excitement, I think people will get. That's what I was hoping for. That I think the writing style, turns of phrases, you put your personality on the page, and people want to read it, and they play along too. And so, but I think it was, you know, I really tried to make it as, and also I was really, I think for the beer geeks as well, I was trying to make it as forward-looking, as comprehensive. We are paying lip service to styles that have been around for 500 years. But additionally, I'm trying to talk about things that are bubbling up right now, and the new styles that are really catching on and carrying favor, talking about Greatzer, talking about Goza, things that the beer geeks out there are kind of like getting into as well. So, but I think if you're a true beer lover, you're going to want to know about all these other great styles too. And I watch time and time again that, you know, in the continuum you have your IPA, you have your double IPA, then you start swinging back around and you come back to the beginning. And I think there is an interest for beer geeks to go back and, you know, define the beauty and the nuance and like a great well-crafted Pilsner. I mean, you see this with lagers. I mean, Bullet Jagger before they went down, I mean, they really bring back the concept. Jack's Abbey as well, that lager is not a four-letter word. And so you're seeing beer geeks, that being a beer geek doesn't mean having to go to the extreme. It can be really knowledgeable and understanding and seeing why a Kolsch is awesome and why a Pilsner is great, but also being able to appreciate, you know, your wild yeast dose lactobacillus driven sour beer, and being able to talk about all these confidently and not feeling that just because the flavors maybe won't smack you in the face, but there's beauty in the understatement. So I hope.
This is a quick follow-up to that. You were saying at the beginning of that you know, it's fun to kind of inject your own personality into the book, and I have to say, as a geek, as in addition to being a beer geek, I appreciated the random, you know, Star Wars references and kind of all the other little turns of phrase that were, you know, it made it beyond, you know, just being kind of a beer textbook. It made me smile when I found those, so it was fun.
No, that's it. It's true, and I think. You know, that goes back, for about 7 years, I was a weekly columnist for New York Press, and I got to really tell these stories and hone a voice and all about being like the chatty person people want to go along with on the journey. And so it's almost, what I was doing for a lot of people is, I was the one going out making the buffoon and being the butt of the jokes, but it's going out there taking people on a journey and experience. And so I think in the same way, with the book, I want it to be where people are going on a journey with me and going with me throughout. And that it's not me standing behind a lectern pointing out things you should know and you should not know, but more of just about, you know, you're with me and like this is great fun fact stuff, and just trying to make beer come alive in a bigger way than that. I think in many ways, I always say that the beer in your hand, even though it's great, it's like the smallest part of a long story, carefully calibrated decisions by a brewer, agricultural reasons, economic reasons that really conspired to create all these different styles. And so when you dig down, you can find it's incredibly fascinating to me just how things evolved and how they're continuing to evolve today.
Yeah. So when you're out on the road, like promoting your works and everything, what are some of the feedback you're getting from people who are buying your book, reading your book, you know, like that? Like I'm assuming most of it's positive, like that. But have you ever had anybody like come up to you like, and truly like be like, wow, I had no idea about that. Thank you for bringing that up. You know, like that aha moment that you see on somebody's face.
Yeah, I mean, this new book has only been a couple weeks out, but it was really interesting. I was in Seattle last week. And what was it? You know, I was doing a book signing at a beer store, and someone came in and they had my book already, and I was like, yeah, great. But they had it little tiny study notes, like those little tiny Post-it tabs sticking out there and going through there. And it's just this idea that people are using it. You know, people are using it as a reference, something they're studying, and I was like, oh man, people are really using this, and it wasn't just that they're using this trying to bone up and learn more about things. So that to me was really such a big validation that you can second guess yourself a million times when you do a book because you are working with the editor, but you're two people against the wind, and you'd think that the entire company would weigh in, but the people like the VPs that signed me up for the book haven't even read the book all the way through yet. It's all really, I kid you not. And so I mean, they're like, great. I got an email from one today. It's like, do you have any mention in the book about these beers? And I was like, you haven't even read the book yet, have you?
It's a Word document, I'm sure.
That's where you respond back with, read the book.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I've been a freelancer for 13 years because the cardinal rule is never burn a bridge and always smile and say thank you. And if you don't like working for them, you just do it quietly and you never ever badmouth anyone. And that has to never.
That is such a good piece of advice. Everybody just go back when you're playing this recording and just listen to that again. Like don't.
Yeah. Don't burn a bridge. Don't burn a bridge. Don't screw up on social media. Turn your deadlines on time, and don't complain about edits. I mean, that's what I think with a lot of writers that are just kind of younger writers are just kind of getting going. Don't really, they tend to think they conflate that their words are them on the page. But oh my God, I know.
There's Norm.
That their words are them on the page, but so much of it is you're creating a product by and large that someone is using this either sell a newspaper, sell a magazine, get advertising on a website, and so it's not just your your journalism, your writing is not pure as a driven snow. I mean, they got to make money as much as you got to make money, and so and that's the thing too. And I think there's work you do for passion, and the book is definitely passion, and there's work you do for a paycheck, and you never get the two confused. And I think a lot of writers, when they start out, they get angry at rejection letters, and they think it's them getting rejected, but it's really that their idea is not right for this time, this place, this season, this week, this day, this hour. And so that's a tough thing. But I think I got off track. But anyway, but I don't know. I think, and that's I'm not. And I think people have, you're asking the response, a lot of times people come and test me. I call it the testing game, where they're like, I know more about beer than you do. And
oh, yeah.
Give me a break.
That happens to me a lot, I think, because I'm female, too. Like, I have to get through three test questions before they'll talk to me.
Yeah, I got all this shit when I was in a same store in Seattle I was at last week. This guy was like, what are your favorite breweries in Oregon? What's your favorite brewery in Washington? Do you know this brewery? Do you know that brewery? And I was like, you know what, sir? I tried to go around, but there's more than 2,500 breweries in America right now with more than 1,200 in planning, and I'm but one man, and I only weigh 145 pounds, and I can only drink so many beers in one day. But then he was like, oh, you're session IPAs, you wait for big breweries to get in, get people to like Bud Light to drink the beer. And I was like, no, that's a bunch of shit. That's not actually true. I mean, they would never, but like Anheuser-Busch is not saying themselves that it's going to be an IPA. They're saying something like it's like the Shift Amber Lager, the Blue Moon style stuff. It's not, and so I was finally just got so fed up, and I was like, you know what? It's the IPA still conversion point for all these drinkers. And then he just basically walked away. But it's funny enough. He came back and he was like, oh, you know what you're talking about. I'm going to get your book. And I was like, oh my gosh. And of course the night, I know, it was almost validation, but it's usually an inverse ratio for books. The people that talk to you the most don't want to buy your book. They're just like, I'm just going to talk to this guy. He's got nothing better to do except stand behind this thing all day and listen to me talk about my homebrew experiments. And I'm happy to hear about your homebrew experiments and this great beer you had and the great trip you had to all the breweries. But, if you're just sitting there as a sounding board, it's just, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, but, once again, you have to smile. You have to smile and be like, thank you very much, sir.
I mean, that happens. I mean, I'm sure all of us have been on numerous, brewery tours.
As a pre-show warm-up, Norm and I always grill Momo for a couple questions.
Yeah. He knows everything he needs to know about websites.
And then I tell him to fuck off, and it works out pretty well. So.
Perfect. Speaking of other people in the show, for those that are listening,
on your website.
Those that are listening and watching, the best part about this show not only is the guests, but it's the chats. We have a live chat every time the show's live, and Sean is the chat room operator, moving the old cords every time. Let me connect you to whatever. And we got a question.
We have a question from Professor Bono. It goes like this. I have a question. I have a chat queue for Josh.
Yep.
As a beer writer, how do you approach families and friends when they ask you questions about getting into craft beer?
In what regard? Like the best way, the best like access points?
No, people are coming and saying, what beer should I get? And sort of just asking for advice and seeing you as an expert. I think the couple things I tell people is that my taste buds really only matter to me, and that I can tell you what you're going to drink, but you're not going to always like it, and I don't want to be like a wine thing where you're going to taste these notes of gooseberry and light tannins and all these things. I'm like, two people can try the same beer and have vastly different experiences and responses to it. So what I tell people is just that, I tell them like my wife's mother, I told her to get, she was like an MGD64 drinker, so I got her drinking Allagash White. And, and now that's her go-to drink at bars around there. And so, it's just something she never would have thought to try. And I think for me, it's also the other thing is just that there's no right or wrong answer by and large. And so I can't tell you if you like it. I can't tell if you don't like it. But the best thing about craft beer is just that it's got a lot of easily accessible flavors you can pinpoint. So you're going to be able to tell a porter from an IPA from a sour beer. These are unlike me trying to cut down and do these slight distinctions with different kinds of wine and telling you these different varietals and the terroir and how it impacts it all. I mean, and also the other thing is beer is cheap. I mean, world-class product for $2 or $17 a 12-pack, ever maybe. And so. I think that's the thing about it, that you can try stuff, and then if you don't like it, dump it out, and you haven't really lost a lot. It's not like you're spending $25 on a bottle of wine, $30 on a bottle of wine. You can go to a bar, pay $5 for a pint, go to your bodega, corner store, pay a couple bucks for a bottle, and really try something and learn a lot all about the beer itself. And so that to me is what I always tell people. That's my advice. It's just that try as many things as possible, and you'll learn. And that no two opinions are right. I mean, everything is just what matters to you is what matters to you. So that's kind of what I go after.
Oh, sorry. Go. Did I cut you off? I was going to say I can imagine it's sort of like an analogy to it might be like winning the lottery. The second you write a book about beer, everyone's coming to you with beer questions. Have you found that since? I mean, you might have gotten that before with magazines, but now with books, do you find a lot of friends and family coming to you first for beer knowledge? Yeah,
I try to help out as much as I can, especially with family and friends. But it's definitely, even today, my friends were like, "Oh, we're going to Mid-Coast Maine. We're actually in Mid-Coast Maine for beer," or it's like, "I need beers for this thing and this thing. And what should I do?" You try to help out as much as you can. I have a lot of lists now. I've just learned time and time again that I just have these lists ready to go. I always get asked where to drink in Portland, Maine, where to drink in New Orleans, where to go in San Francisco, where to go in Chicago. So now I've just got all these big lists of stuff, and I'm just like, here you guys go. It's like easy peasy.
Yeah. Here's my Bit.ly link. Just click on it. This is what I would have told you.
Yeah.
I made a Foursquare list for that because I got so many people that were asking me, I'm only in Portland for one day. What do I go do? And I made a list, and I was like,
here's your one-day list.
Yeah, here's your one-day list.
I think for me one of the big things too is just been really surprising that books still hold some sort of validation for people as you've done something that they're impressed by. And I'm still the same guy, the same writer, but when you have a book out there, people treat you a little bit differently, and they put you in the category of expert in that echelon. And and it's strange. I get called a lot more as an expert for articles, for TV stuff, and I sit around talking around and expounding. So I've gone from being a guy that works mostly pantsless with his dog by his feet, to now I've got to sitting there talking and expounding on things for people. And it's just it's just an interesting shift, and it's just it's because of the book. And people just think of you so much differently because of the book, and I'm really not that different of a person. It's just, but within the mind and the eyes of everyone out there, you're all of a sudden Josh Bernstein, expert, and instead of same guy that was struggling freelance writer for years, all of a sudden got a book deal.
But I think you hit the nail on the head where it was, you said it before, where personality is now on the page, and I think that's the best thing you can do as an author, I'd imagine, because I've seen plenty of authors, not just beer books, but in regular, where they're obviously very in the book, and that's it. And all of them is in the book, but then you see them in person, there's kind of like,
Yeah. Well, you know,
Which is
I've
almost
been,
creepy, but
yeah, I think people get amazed when they see me in person. They're like, wow, he's not actually like a social recluse. He's not awkward. But you know, I've been doing ever since I was, and he's not. I'm also not like a fat slobbering total like alcoholic, and like I can actually string a sentence together. I think that often surprises people too. And but I've been doing ever since ever since I was in high school. I've kind of been doing. When I was in high school, I did zines myself. Same in college. When I moved to New York City, we did this magazine called Rated Rookie for a number of years, and it was basically I was the editor, my friend was the designer, and we all worked in magazines at the time. We were all kind of struggling. So my friends that worked at Maxim, I mean, whatever. Like basically, we were able to sneak our printing budget within Maxim for the first couple issues, and so that helped us get off the ground. Then Tower Records, rest in peace, helped us. They carried our magazine all across the country until they folded, which kind of took us down. But I was really used to doing events and having to be out in person, doing ad sales, doing events, being writer, selling. So all these things really kind of conspired to come together to really help out, to learn that there's one part of your brain to be the writer and the editor. There's another part of your brain to be the person that goes out there, and even doing the homebrew tours I do in New York City are really they really helped me out to like learn how to talk to big crowds of beer drinkers and how to get things going, and that's the reason I'm a little bit hungover today, is because I had a homebrew tour yesterday, which dovetailed with my wife's baby shower, which made for a very interesting, which is why all these things are hanging up there. It's like leftover baby shower stuff.
Well, I guess can we take a quick congrats pause for the incoming Bernstein, if you will?
Oh my gosh, yeah, baby.
Cheers.
In 7 weeks, which has made this book tour incredibly fast. I'm just waiting by my phone, praying to God that I don't get this call. It's like, I'm going into labor now. And so
yes.
I've got Great American Beer Fest coming up, and then after that I'm going to be just on the East Coast and hopefully trying to fit in time to go up to Portland, Portsmouth, Boston, and figure it all out. But at least I'm in Portland. I can get back on the plane in 45 minutes and not sitting in San Francisco having to fly across country, then having to like log on to Wi-Fi on the plane and watch my baby being born via FaceTime, which sounds to me like a terrible thing.
It's like, what's that, honey? No, sorry, I'm at Bailey's Tap Room right now. No big deal. Across the country.
Over Chicago right now.
Yeah.
I'm stuck in
well, if you are up this way, please look us up too, because I'm in Portland, Brian's in Portsmouth.
I'm in Salem.
All those other hooligans are in Massachusetts.
Yeah. 40 minutes outside of Boston.
Nice. Yeah, my wife and I got married up in Portland, Maine. So
cool.
It holds a spot near and dear to our heart. We got married up on Munjoy Hill. If you know it, there's a tree in the cannon up there. The park up there.
Yep.
And so we did get married by a bush, but by the tree. And so I think
that's a beautiful view. That's a beautiful view there. I looked at that for mine. I ended up going a little outside of town and getting married in the spring. Yes, it's gorgeous.
Oh, look at that. We've been there.
That was after the wedding, so that was us a couple years ago in Portland, Maine, overlooking the water.
Awesome.
Well, I think we should give Josh a quick break. Let him take a sip and a breath, because we have something that, because we've been hitting him like I don't know, Situation Room meets Wolf Blitzer or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, I was out in the old bookstores, as I usually am not, in Exeter, New Hampshire, and I come across this little puppy. Elevator up, folks. Look at this. New Hampshire Magazine's this month is the Beer Lover's Guide to the Granite State. Looks pretty good, right? Well, inside, I didn't even bookmark it, so I'm never ready for these things. But you got little likes of this guy right here. Heyo. Talking about the Seacoast. Do a little flipty-doozle back.
Just so you know, this is. You might want to say who's who because of the recording for the audio.
Oh, it's true.
I don't know who you're talking about.
I'm holding up a magazine, and
the magazine is called.
Yes, the magazine is called New Hampshire Magazine, and it's the October issue, and it's the Beer Lover's Guide to Granite State. And it's multiple bloggers featured, but on this show we have myself, and I talk about the Seacoast. You flip a couple pages back, and you got Shawnee Boy,
Jensen,
the Merrimack region. Look at that face. I mean, and the name.
Sean Jensen. Oh, my favorite poet.
Talk some people. Myth Prince. And we also, let's not forget, the Monadnock region. This gal right here, Carla, talking about the Monadnock.
Boom.
So,
the real beer.
Also in this book is James Sanborn, insurance beer guy, and he talks about the North region. And I believe there's one more. Nope.
I think that's it, 4.
I think that's it, 4. So, In bookstores, not in grocery stores in New Hampshire, because I don't know why they don't sell. They only sell tabloids about William and Kate's baby. So, but
Still.
nevertheless, wherever good magazines are sold, you can find this copy right here.
I spent
Find us out in
years.
the market. We'll even autograph it for you.
I spent years working for one of those celebrity magazines. That's how I got the money to. That basically paid my bills. I worked for Us Weekly as a copy editor for a number of years.
Oh, did you care about the stuff though?
No, here's what's great about it. You can go in there if you have a job that you don't care about. You can go in there and you have to worry about proper punctuation and making sure things are spelled correctly. So it was basically an ideal job. You get to walk out of there without having. You got to leave everything at the door, and you just walk in, do your thing, walk out, and you're just like, I've got no idea what I've just done for the last 10 hours. People are always like, what was the hot gossip for the week? And I'm like, I have no idea. I forgot. And that's the best thing about a job like that, because if you're going to do something that you don't care about, I mean, you should really not care about it. And that was it for me. I didn't give a darn about Celebrity Weekly or Celebrity Gossip or anything.
Oh boy,
now that I don't work there anymore, I've kind of lost my tether to reality shows or anything else. Now I'm just kind of yeah.
Well, at this point now, you could have been on just from that print, you could have been on a TV show every day.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
So, like I said, magazines in the store. Do we have any other questions for Josh? Before we got a couple big topics of news, but Norm, you got something?
No, I was just going to ask. I know he just started his book tour and his wife is going to give birth imminently, but just wondering if he has even started thinking about a third book yet.
You know what? A little bit, but not really so much right now, because it's just been this 2-year cycle of write book, edit book, promote book, write book, edit book, promote book, and that's been going on for almost 4 years now. And I kind of need to step off that treadmill for a little bit. And but I do have an idea. One of the books I want to do something hopefully based around the homebrew tours I do. This idea of voyeurism, people's homes, going in there and doing that across the country. But I haven't really pitched that out yet to the editors and the publishing house yet. But to basically, I think a couple of you guys have talked about before, but I take people to different homebrewers' homes. You get to try their 3 different homebrewers' homes. You get to try their beer. It's almost like a roving voyeuristic house party filled with homebrew and strangers. And it's really such a great way to meet people and kind of break down the boundaries that exist so far with different class structures and different people. And it would be great for me to go across the country and go into people's homes, take pictures, tell the stories of how they got into home brewing, and have pictures of these great tricked out setups. Be a passion project spectrum, but I'm pretty excited if I can get that going.
Is this what your homebrew tour is in New York?
Yeah, in New York, yeah.
I remember reading about that in Brewed Awakenings. I was like, that'd be a cool thing to do. Like if there was homebrew tours here, I'd love to go and get a chance to try these type of things.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. You'd think in a city like New York, which is nothing but a copycat town, where people think about everyone makes donuts, everyone loves cronuts, and so everyone just kind of jumps on a bandwagon, that you would think other people would maybe do it, but no one else does it in New York. It's kind of weird in a city of 8 million people that no one's actually stolen this idea, because that's what New York does best, is take out their ideas and try to improve upon them. But I'm totally happy if anyone else wants to go do it. I mean, it's just, you guys, everyone knows their particular scenes best, and so I try to get people to do it, but you really need to find. I always try to make it very walkable. Like yesterday was maybe a 15 minutes between each house on foot, which that's what New York City affords you. It's tough in other cities, and you really have to go. And the planning and logistics are such the big crucial part of it all. So it's less about you can find a million homebrewers, but you got to find a way to go from A to B to C and get to each house and not have driving and not have to spend $1,000 for a party bus. And who wants a party bus for a homebrewer's house? It's kind of ridiculous.
Do you inspect these places first?
I'd like to say that I had enough time in my day to go out and personally vet and sign off on every beer, but I kind of liken it to if you go to someone's house for a dinner party, that they're going to serve you something that they're incredibly proud of. You may not love it, but it's something they're proud of, and it's something that they would not serve if they were not think it was high quality. And so everyone there on the tours, not every brewer has amazing beer, but there's very few drain pours, I'll put it like that. And so, but there's also moments of complete serendipity, like Simon Heppes, the last stop on the tour yesterday, he won a national homebrew competition medal for his dry IPA. And the first guy on the tour is opening up a brewery called Strong Rope. And so these are not just kind of people with a kettle and a Mr. Beer kit that are sitting there going, I'm going to make this.
I can do that.
I can do this in my closet. I can make beer. These are people with like great minds, great abilities, and just like the ability to create such great, amazing flavors. And that's it. So I don't have enough time to go to everyone's house. I wish I could say that. But
So speaking of New York, though, I've got family down there. My little brother's a paramedic in Manhattan and runs around, drives ambulances and whatnot. But what is the beer scene like down there? What are your favorite breweries and little spots that you like to hit up? I'm not as familiar with what's going on in New York City as I am as upstate and Long Island, so I'm just kind of curious.
New York State is a very interesting market because the thing you need for breweries is space, and space is the most expensive thing in New York City. And so, but there were actually more brew pubs in New York City in the 90s than there are now, but they all kind of fell apart. Bad beer, bad location, high rent, everything all together. But nowadays we're really seeing this flourishing of the beer scene. So you're not seeing as many in Manhattan. There's 508 Gastro Brewery down in like Tribeca, West Village-ish area. Mm-hmm. Italy is great in the city, which is at Sam Clagione, and the coterie of Italian brewers are doing it. My friend Rich, who's actually a former host of the Homebrew Tour, opened up Single Cut Beersmiths in Queens, and they're focusing on lager production, and they're just doing gangbuster business. Rockaway Brewing is in Long Island City. They do a lot of English-inspired beers. Big Alice Brewing does very small CSA model. Every batch is different, one-barrel system. And then we have a lot of stuff coming online in the next few months, too. That Other Half Brewing is one of the former brewers from Kelso, which is in Brooklyn. He's opening up his own brew house soon. Sinback Brewery in Queens. Gun Hill Brewing up in the Bronx. Bronx Brewery is opening up their own stuff up there, too. So you're watching that, like I always say, with New York, it's a city that, if it's behind the curve in anything, it always tries to find a way to make it better and do it better than anyone else. And so craft beer is really this next thing that it's a city of 8 million folks, 19 million metro, more than 50 million tourists coming in every year. And we've seen with Yeppy from Evil Twin and Torst what they're doing right now. I mean, that's just going gangbusters. He's made Greenpoint a beer destination, with him. And then but, Barcades, Bite and Dive are classics. My favorite, I live in a neighborhood called Prospect Heights. I go to Beercraft all the time, and I drink, they've got growlers you can drink on site there. And then,
Pony Bar?
The what?
Do you go to the Pony Bar?
Pony Bar a little bit, but, I live and work in Brooklyn, and Pony Bar's on 45th Street and 10th Avenue, and on the Upper East Side. And that may as well be, hanging out in, it's not just like going from Portsmouth to Kittery. It would be like going from Portsmouth to Portland, Maine at the end of the day. Basically, it would take me like an hour leaving my house to get there, and so it's just not even it's just And New York City, you exist in these very small pocket worlds where your whole life exists within 4 blocks around you. I got bars down the block, pizza places, a bodega with great craft beer selection about 45 feet away from my door, but yeah, but New York's getting better and better, and I should probably tell people. I do this publisher, Blue Crow Media, hired me to do an app called Craft Beer New York, and which is basically all the bottle shops, beer stores, and breweries in New York City in the area, and they made it free for the rest of the month to kind of tie into my book. So that's called Craft Beer New York. It's free on iPhone and iPad. Unfortunately, with Android, you can make things. Here's how Google is just screwy. You can make things free on iPhone or the iTunes store, and then go back and charge people again. If you make something free for Android, you can never make anyone pay for it ever again.
Wow,
which is
that's
I know.
That doesn't seem like a good flow.
Classic Google.
Yeah, and so actually, it's really interesting. Like the download numbers, there's about more than 2,000 people have downloaded the app and bought it so far on. With the iPhone, you want to guess how many people got it on Android?
2.
7?
Yeah, close. About 60 people.
Oh.
Yeah, and who complains the most? It's Android users for some reason. It's a weird fractured market where it's, with the iPhone, they have one update and it goes through everything on there. But Android, it's just an operating system you can tweak to your own heart's content, and so you'd always have to go through and update and do it all up, and it's just not even worth it sometimes. And so you're getting like I'm basically getting maybe like $2.50 a month from Android sales, but yet I have to spend the lion's share of my time answering questions about why it doesn't work with a particular Samsung Galaxy 4S3 or whatever the newest model.
Answer me this one. Yes, the 5S, it needs to work.
Yeah, I know.
S5 G2X.
Double L.
Yeah, right. Any final questions for Josh before I have a couple quick highlights to hit? Sean, anyone? Okay, we'll get to where we can get the book in a second, but I wanted to go. We have about maybe 5-10 minutes left. There's some news on the podcast website, sblpodcast.com. Norm, you wrote a little something about Jack's Abbey.
Oh,
do you mind just doing a quick one? What's happening?
I don't know if I talked about the major expansion they recently went under. They more than doubled their brewing capacity from about 6,000 to 13,000, switching to 12. Yeah, Copper Legends is fantastic beer.
I'm just pointing at Jack's Abbey, but
yeah, they recently switching from 16-ounce bottle. They did the traditional German 16.9-ounce bottles. They're switching to 12-ounce six-packs for the year-round beer.
Right here.
Yeah, and they're going to switch their. They're going to keep the special releases in 12-ounce. But last week they got approval. They're going to be able to from the town of Framingham that they're going to be able to pour full 16-ounce pours at the brewery. In Massachusetts, farmers brewers license was recently changed. Previously, it was only 2-ounce samples. Now you can do 16-ounce pours for money, but you have to get approval from the town, and then they have to still go in front of the state. So even though the town gave them approval, they still have to get the state, but it shouldn't be an issue. So probably in the next month or so, they'll be changing their tasting room around. You'll be able to go there after work and grab a 16-ounce pint of Hoponius Union or Smoke and Dagger, whatever special release you have. They'll have like chips and pretzels, but they don't have to have food like a normal bar or restaurant. You have to have food.
Yeah.
So that's big news. And then the other big thing, just quickly about a local to me brewery, is Jack's Abbey Brewing. Wormtown Brewery. They just canned their first batch of V Hoppy.
Look at those cans. Hey, nice cans, Norm.
Yeah, I know. Previously it was only available in 22-ounce bottles or growlers, but they're testing it out, basically. This was the first batch of 60 cases. I talked to the assistant brewer this past weekend. They loved it, so he's hoping that they start doing this full-time. They did 60 cases in like a minute, so they're very excited about how the machine worked. So just a little shout-out to Wormtown, too.
Big shout-out. And, man, I'm just going to do a quick plug for Treehouse. If they can get that farmer's license.
Yes, do it.
All right, I think they already have the license, but if they can get that pint pouring thing.
They had an issue with the town, so I'm guessing that they're not going to give them approval to.
Oh, it's an issue with the town, all right.
Yeah, they can't even do 2-ounce samples there, so they're not going to ever be able to do 16-ounce pours.
What if they started with pints?
That would be awesome.
It would be awesome. All right, so.
I would make it to Brimfield every weekend.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I have a bed for you. Actually, at Rick Brews on Twitter has a bed for you.
Heyo.
But really quick, we have there's an article in there about a man that basically gets drunk by eating bread. So if you go to it's an NPR article, it was all over all the different websites, but it's the auto brewery syndrome. Apparently, you can make beer in your gut. I don't know if you guys read this, but apparently this guy's just basically getting intoxicated.
Yeah, so what it is that when you have take a lot of antibiotics, what it does is it actually gets rid of all of your natural gut bacteria and yeast and everything else that would normally be there doing its normal job of breaking down the food that you eat. And sometimes what happens after that is that whatever bug gets in there first takes over. So you end up with either indigestion problems because you have the wrong balance of bacteria and you need to do all kinds of things to fix it. Well, this guy in particular ended up with an infestation of Saccharomyces, which is yeast, brewer's yeast, in his stomach. So what happens is that when you eat something that has carbs or sugars that turn into fermentable sugars, the yeast is actually in his stomach, breaking it down and creating the byproduct of alcohol, which they didn't figure out for this guy for a while because he was just kind of randomly showing the symptoms of being drunk, and they kept thinking he was like a closet alcoholic or whatever, and they figured out that it's because every time he ate basically fermentable sugars, he was unfortunately making alcohol in his stomach. So it's a rare-ish thing to happen, but it's one of those things that goes viral because it sounds so funny. Hey, I can brew my own beer in my stomach.
Dude, can you imagine the conversation?
Has a little fermenter on top of his head, like bubbling.
Can you imagine the conversations between him and his wife? Are you drunk again? No, yeah. I just had a sandwich. Get off my ass. You're drunk again.
Like one of the tests, he ate a sandwich at the hospital, and like a half hour after he ate, his blood alcohol level was like 0.12.
Yeah.
The doctor's like yelling at him, "You can't drink in the hospital, you dumbass."
Yeah,
and I just had pastrami.
And personally, you know, as cool as that sounds, I can't imagine a life in which I would be drunk when I didn't want to or intend to be.
But just imagine how much money you'd save.
Yeah, but
money nothing. I'd have to take a taxi everywhere I went. It's just not a good. It's not a good.
Did you finish up lunch in your hammer?
I'm drunk enough. Yeah. I think I'm drunk enough already. I don't really need like an added reason.
Right.
It's just annoying. It's annoying as it
morning.
is. Yeah. have your Cheerios. I can't. I'll get drunk.
Hey, you stop at the local store. You stop at the bagel shop on the way to work, and next year you're hungover.
This guy is back for an everything bagel. I'm like, oh god, this guy again.
Yeah, but everything bagel is over.
It's over. All right, next article, really quick. Sean was just down there this weekend, but at Dogfish, that is. But they're basically going to open a 16-room hotel in the late spring. So article is there, and kind of just the whole beer and bed and breakfast thing. Can't get any much awesomer than that, right?
Yeah, I think Stone does that in California, right?
Yeah, I think they're almost finalizing it or finishing it, but yeah, they have the same kind of like it's probably more extravagant because it's huge. It seems I think it's bigger, but
yeah. I know Rogue. A lot of their tap rooms have like 4 or 5 rooms on the second floor. I think like some of the ones out in Oregon. So
that's like the old London or like UK style. Like you now live above a pub because we have apartments up there or something like that. That's classy. And then speaking of Stone, Josh, Greg is going to be shaving that beard of his for Movember. We don't
raise enough money.
Only if he raises $15,000.
He's gonna raise it with the first tweet.
Yeah, basically.
But so we don't just Movember is not a playoff Momo, Mike, in our podcast name. But yeah, it's Mike. You participated in Movember, right, last year?
And I will be participating again this year. Yep, we're doing an office thing. So
a quick explanation as to what it is. Do you shave it and then you grow it?
Well, see, there's different like philosophies behind it. Like basically, what I did was I just tried to grow the mustache. So I would shave the face and continue with the mustache, and I just looked so freaking creepy like the entire month of November because it was before like it actually. I don't know. I've noticed these days that the mustache grows in a little bit more thick, and like a couple of years ago, it just was not. But some people do the beard. They do November beard up until like it's time to like the last week, and then they shave it all down. But I mean, it's truly grower's choice. So
cool. Then like we got 2 more. Sean's gonna send you a little photo to put up on your screen, but. Tallgrass, who's hasn't necessarily been on the show, but I've been there and talked to him for the show. Great beers. If you haven't had it yet, get to it. But they're coming out with a zombie monkey, and check out this can, folks. It's a textured can, so it's gonna have a little bit of a feel to it, but scary.
Wait, texture?
It seems like it's like more of a bumpy, like a I wouldn't know what to describe it as, but like a hard metal maybe.
Yeah.
By the way, it seems
like embossed, kind of like it's.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe. I thought you meant like actually like.
Yeah, it says textured grip, but to me that sounds like it's more embossed, like a grainy feel.
Like it's a physical deformation of the can material itself.
Yeah, I don't really think that. I don't think to myself, how can I make my can better? It's a can. It fits in your hand. Your hand.
But it's not shaped like a bow tie. So
we have opposable thumbs for a reason. These are can holding tools.
So we're gonna have like a can that has a thumb hole in it.
Yeah. Like it's hard to hold a can when you have no thumb. Like look at this.
Look at that. Holding it without the thumb.
I knew a guy that just had these.
Suck it.
Great guy. But no, Tallgrass. I think it came out. I want to say this week, but for those that are out in the Midwest and can get hands on any Tallgrass, huge fan right here. So send it over. Coming up next, and last but not least, we don't have to talk about it, but you can hop into it. SPLpodcast.com. The Walmart sells Coors at about cost to be the largest beer seller.
This is a huge thing, actually. Like,
so what do you got?
We like this hit. Like we're a Miller Coors licensee at work, and like so we get like these kind of like these news stories like kind of hit us before they hit the mainstream, and we heard about that, and like that is huge. Like, they are going to push so much goddamn product through Walmart doors like that way. It's like, and they're just like, whatever. We just want the ability to make pennies on a dollar, essentially, and it's huge. Like,
I mean,
Yeah.
same thing with Amazon and book sales.
yeah.
I mean, I have to buy my books. I can tell you, I mean, like my books cost $25. If I do a book signing, I can buy them for $12.50 with free shipping, and then my Amazon's gone for $15, and
Yeah.
it's $16.
15.
Yeah, $15.88. I just bought one, so you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
He literally bought one.
I just made $2.50, but it's really hard when you're doing book sales going out.
Enjoy your coffee.
Everyone's like, it's like, oh, I'll just get on Amazon. I'm just like, I am standing before your eyes right now, and you could get a signed copy right now. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Amazon's made it really tough to do it. And I mean, the dirty secret of a lot of authors is that if your book is cheaper on Amazon than it is on, they get it from your publisher, that it behooves you better to buy it on Amazon, get copies shipped to your house. And
Is that more the publisher working against the author in that case, where they're just trying to push out books?
No. I mean, that's Amazon's buying power. I mean, Amazon negotiates rates for the books, and they're not really looking to make a big profit on the books themselves. And so, you ostensibly as an author will make like your royalty rate on every book sale on there, but it's just, I don't. When I go out and sell my books, I do it for I just do $20, and so it's already discounted anyway. But even at $20, people still blanch sometimes. It's really interesting. It's like all about consumer. It's all about consumer philosophy, and it's like that's. Yeah, it goes back to not just being a writer but being a salesman, which is. It's like what's the price to make you take a book home? Is it $15? Is it $20?
I won't bash a magazine, but this magazine alone was $5.
Right.
If I can buy 3 of these magazines or 4 or 5 to equal one of those books, just buy the book instead. But
I know it's interesting, but it's.
I know. I remember when I did a book signing once, and someone was talking and actually ordered the book from Amazon while they were talking to me. When I had like 20 books in front of me for sale.
Oh.
Did you have him sign it? Did you sign his iPhone?
No, I broke it.
Just spiked it on the ground. Boom.
So that'll get into some more of the events we have going on. Sean's got one. You want to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to this weekend, the first annual Sausage Fest at Whim Craft Beer Cafe in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. It is a day of Marzen and sausage.
First official one.
That's awesome. Is that the first annual? Anyway.
First annual. Except
Awesome.
every other time that Mike makes an appearance.
Check that logo. So that's when again? Say it again. Saturday. So we'll put a link in the show notes. Obviously, if you're from the Seacoast area, you know exactly where Whim is, and you should be telling everybody about it too, because one of the best places to get a pint if you don't know any better. So there you go. Also, this Friday, White Birch is having an open house to debut their Emily beer. They debuted it at the Passport event on Friday of last week, Saturday of last week, and they had just officially poured it out of the taps, and now they're going to be releasing it in bottles to the public on Friday. So the link's in the show notes. Head on down to Hooksit. You're going to see me and my lovely wife drinking from the taps because they have Nick's on tap right now, which I'm a big fan of that black ale. So I don't know, check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Last but not least, before we part, is if you're Breaking Bad fan just like I am, head on down to the bottom of the show notes for maybe a little bit of spoilers. What are you gonna do? The last night's episode of Breaking Bad was entitled "The Granite State," and in true awesome ways that Breaking Bad does their show, they made it complete with tap handles of the state, and there's 2 screenshots. One is of 2 Smutty-Nose tap handles, and under that is Walter White just sitting at the bar looking all Breaking Bad-ish, and behind him is a Smutty-Nose tacker, which is just freaking awesome. And apparently Smutty-Nose was contacted by AMC a year ago saying, for authenticity's sake, can we use this? And they also had to sign a secrecy document saying they couldn't talk about it at all. So it's pretty cool.
Is that Angry Orchard and Sam Adams as well?
Yep.
Right there. Nice.
Yep. And a quick more of a nerd thing. Yeah, big time nerd. So sorry. It was actually filmed in New Mexico, but what are you gonna do?
I was gonna ask where it was because it really did look like a little pub.
At least they had new in the name.
Yeah, it's true. All right. Well, that's gonna do it for this show. But Josh, you can get your book on Amazon. But how would you like people to buy your book? Straight from you're selling signed copies on your website.
I am doing that too, and but I got to go to the post office, which is a pain in the butt. Just buy it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and I will hopefully be back. I need to figure out my schedule, but I hopefully be in Portsmouth and Boston, and then Portland in the next few weeks. I'll let everyone know when I get everything on order. I'm going to be in Washington D.C. this weekend, but then after that I'll be back on the East Coast and Northeast actually.
Cool.
Awesome. And as members of the SPL podcast crew, you're getting a book. And you're getting a book. Well, Josh, we really appreciate you coming on, and I hope you can come back and just chat beer news sometime. The book, again, is called The Complete Beer Course. If you don't have it on your coffee table, in your bureau, and in your bathroom, you're doing yourself a disservice.
But, oh yeah, I was going to say, if you do buy them from me, we made all these amazing, awesome pins we give away to people that buy the book, or if you see me in person. So
really?
I know.
Do you have
Amazon. Fuck me.
There it is.
Yeah, screw you, Amazon. You don't have anything.
Awesome.
So we made
Josh, raise a glass to you, buddy, and cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
Brian,
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, what do you got?
Here.
We need to pick a Thursday show. Remember, we're having a special show this week.
Ah, shit,
That's
right.
for those that are watching live right now and listening, special Thursday show. Come on back Thursday. We're gonna have a little guest called Ken Grossman. May or may not have started, Sierra Nevada Brewing Company.
Small little
also
brewery.
has a book out. So it's a big book week. I feel like Oprah's book club right now. So you should
Thirsty
read this
Thursday.
Yeah, it's book season right now.
I'm scared.
Cold out. Read
I
about it.
finish that.
I know.
It is book season. I like it.
It is. You know why? 'Cause I think 40% of book sales happen between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and so that's why a lot of the books come out right about now. They're like, think about Christmas, think about everything. So it's,
Yes. Oh, don't wait till Christmas to give this book
don't wait till
out.
Christmas. I need
Yeah.
my diapers for my daughter.
Get it now. Get it in.
Guy needs diapers. All right, Josh. Well, cheers, and we'll see you guys on Thursday and beyond. Tell a friend. SPL Podcast. Bye.
All right, take care, everyone. Bye.